Hi, my name is Rosalinda, and welcome to Viewpoint once again. We are here at Salish Kootenai College at KSKC TV in Paolo, Montana, and I'd like to thank all my viewers once again for joining us. And my guest today is Caitlin Copple. I'm so happy that you're on our show today because you have wonderful information about a great resource for Montana, and you're welcome. Caitlin Copple is the Pride Foundation Regional Development Organizer for Montana. That's a big title, lady.
It is a big title, and it's kind of a big job because it's a big state.
It is a big state. I was going to say, how many places have you been visiting since you took on this new chapter in your life?
Well, I've been to Billings twice, and I'll go there again soon. I've been to Helena probably like 6 times, partly because of the legislature. Kalispell twice. Butte and Bozeman 3 or 4 times.
My God.
Going to Bozeman next weekend for the celebration.
That's great.
And this is my 3rd time to Polson, I think.
I believe so.
But
it
Polson's
sounds about
easy
right.
from Missoula, which is where I live.
And we're always happy for you to come up this way. Always, you're always welcomed up here.
Thank you.
I bet you put a lot of miles on your little car.
Yeah, yeah. Sometimes I get to rent a car, which is very exciting.
Oh, that's good. That's good. Well, you work with the Pride Foundation.
I do.
And can you tell us, what is the Pride Foundation? What do they do?
Well, the Pride Foundation is based in Seattle, but we now have folks like me, organizers in all of the 5 states of the Pacific Northwest regions. That's Oregon, Washington, Alaska, Idaho, and Montana. And our mission is to inspire a culture of generosity that connects and strengthens students, leaders, and organizations throughout the LGBTIQ community with the goal of creating complete equality for everybody in our region.
That's wonderful. And can you tell our viewers what LGBTIQ means, just so that they know?
Yes, lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, or questioning.
Correct.
Yeah, and sometimes there's other letters thrown on there. We just use LGBTQ because at some point you have to draw the line, but we welcome the I's and the Two-Spirit folks and whoever else. It's just... at some point, you have to not add letters anymore.
I know it. It just gets really big.
But we love everyone.
I know, absolutely, absolutely. How does the Pride Foundation relate to Montana's needs for grant opportunities and scholarships?
Yeah. Well, part of sort of inspiring this culture of generosity involves philanthropy. So we are a funder, which means that we give away money, which is super fun. Everyone likes that. We give away, this year we'll give away about $20,000 in grants to nonprofits throughout the state, and then we also give away just under $3,000 in scholarships to Montana students. We had one from Helena, a couple from Bozeman, and one from Missoula. So,
that is so great. You know, being that we're in an educational institution, opportunities for students is always welcomed, I know, scholarship opportunities and anything like that nature. How does an organization or a person apply for these grants or scholarships? Well,
the scholarship process kind of just ended, so this fall folks can check our website, and the application is all online, and they can look there. It's www.pridefoundation.org, and then our grant cycle is just coming up. So on June 15th, you can go to our website and download all the forms that you'll need to apply for funding. And if there's any really grassroots groups that are interested that maybe don't have their 501c3 tax-exempt status, they could still apply for funding. The only thing is that they would need to find what's called a fiscal sponsor. So, you know, coming to an organization like the college or the Human Rights Network, sometimes we'll do it for folks, or the Western Montana Gay and Lesbian Community Center, and see if those folks will help them funnel the money so that the folks get it who are really on the ground doing the work.
That's wonderful. So what I appreciate more about nonprofit work is working from the ground up. You know, community organizing, because that's where the issues are. That's where you end up hearing more of what's happening in Montana. And I think you have a good tap of that. Am I right?
I mean, I hope so. That's my job, I feel like, is to really listen to people and find out, because I think, you know, somebody in Polson certainly knows a lot better than I do, coming from Missoula, what the needs are in their community. And I think a lot of it's just listening and believing in people and investing in them. And I think the other great thing about Pride Foundation is we really believe in empowering local people. So all of our funding decisions, whether it's grants or scholarships, are made by volunteers who geographically represent the state. So it's not just me or some folks in Seattle deciding who gets money in Montana, because that wouldn't really make a lot of sense. So.
What are you looking in a grant application if someone is if an organization is looking for that?
Well, increasingly, I mean, we're totally comfortable funding general operating expenses, which is kind of rare.
That is very rare. Very rare.
But it seems like it's a big need. I mean,
Oh,
that's what we hear from
Caitlin,
people is
it
like,
is for
we're
many
always
people.
writing grants for these special projects, but really what we need is just to be able to, you know, cover our expenses or pay our staff a little bit, or, you know, go to this conference or whatever it is.
Absolutely.
So, you know, we, again, coming back to that philosophy that folks on the ground kind of know what their needs are and know what's best, we just try to be an accessible partner in that. So if somebody just wants, you know, to have some money so that they can do their event and pay their person a stipend and, you know, cover the cost of renting a space to hold their event, maybe place a couple ads somewhere, you know, to let the community know that they exist, you know, that's a totally sufficient thing to do. I think all you have to do in your grant application is just to demonstrate why the work that you're doing is so needed in your community and how you're uniquely prepared to make it happen.
That's great.
I think, you know, because it is volunteers reviewing the applications, anytime you can tell, you know, like a personal story about, you know, a person that has been directly impacted by your work, that's always really powerful.
That's very powerful.
And just being really, you know, really detailed about why what you do is important.
That's really good. I was talking to one of my viewers recently, and I mentioned that you might be coming on the show, and they were really excited. Oh. But one of the questions that they had was that, does she have an office here? Does the Pride Foundation have an office?
It's very exciting. It's in my basement.
It's in your basement, yeah.
Yes. Sometimes it moves to a coffee shop. I'm feeling crazy.
That's what I told them. I thought, I said, I think it's more like a satellite type situation.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah, and I'm on the road, I would say 1 week a month at least, you know, traveling around, so. That's
great. So with all the work and all the investment, as you say, that the Pride Foundation has put into Montana, what has been the impact of that investment?
Yeah, well, I think it's in some ways has been hard to quantify, in part because we've never had staff on the ground here. I started in January. We know that we've given more than $250,000 to organizations in the state of Montana since we, you know, have been active making grants here, and Pride Foundation started back in the mid-'80s in Seattle.
Right.
I think that now that we've hired these, you know, 6 regional development organizers that are in the states doing the work on the ground, we have basically what are a scorecard or a series of metrics that sort of measure what success looks like for us. But this first year, it's a little bit of a shot in the dark because, you know, the main thing I can do is just go around and meet people and hear what their needs are and what they want and what they, you know, what they feel like our role is. And then we'll kind of revise from there because we really do value, you know, listening to people and not coming in with this big top-down plan. So I think the first year or two will be just a lot of listening and getting to know people. And so far, you know, people are really excited and have been very generous. I should say that all donations that come from Montanans help leverage that granting pool and scholarship pool for Montana, and they're also matched or in some cases tripled by donors out of the Seattle area, the King County area. So your donation really goes a long way in Montana. So your donation stays in Montana? That's great. Yep. I think that that's important for viewers to know, and why it's important to, if they're looking at wanting to donate to the Pride Foundation, they should look at that. You mentioned your work with the legislature. How does the work with the legislature relate to the Pride Foundation? Well, that's a good question. It's a complicated question. Is it? Okay. I think. I don't mean to put you on the spot. No, it's fine. Well, so we're a 501c3 nonprofit, which means that we can't endorse candidates or, you know, be affiliated with a party or be super political, but we can lobby around issues. Okay. And so obviously as an equality organization, we're going to try to stand up for people whose rights are being taken away in some cases, or, you know, just trampled on in one way or another. So one of the bills that I went to Helena a couple of times for was House Bill 516, which would have gotten rid of the Missoula Equality Ordinance, which was the first ever city ordinance in the state that includes the LGBT community as a protected class. Yep, gender identity, expression, and sexual orientation. So you can't be fired for being gay or for being trans. You can't be denied housing or credit or public accommodation like a bathroom or a hotel room. So just sort of basic dignity and fairness was under attack, you know, in Helena by these folks that don't live in Missoula and kind of have no business making our laws. So luckily we were able to sort of defeat that. It was tabled in committee rather than outright killed, but it didn't pass, so that's a good thing.
So the ordinance in Missoula still is in effect. That's wonderful.
It's really exciting, and it also lays the groundwork for other communities who decide that they do want to have, you know, a safe and welcoming environment for all of their citizens to pass similar ordinances. And Bozeman already has sort of a policy in place, but it's I think it's a little bit less binding than Missoula's.
That is great.
So if Polson wanted to do that, or Pablo, or Ronan, you guys can go for it.
You never know. Yeah, we'll definitely call you. You know, that's so important, and I know that must have been a lot of hard work.
Yeah, it is, and I think the other significant thing about the legislative work, where I hope that I can play a bit of a role, is that it illustrates the need for a statewide movement, and the fact is that we have all of these little groups and we have such a big state that we don't always talk to each other. We might have the best of intentions and want to support each other, but sometimes you don't know that this group in Billings is doing the same thing that you're doing in Missoula, or you know, or that Helena's suffering the same problem that folks in Whitefish are dealing with.
Right.
So I think the stronger that we can be as a community and have a sense of a statewide movement, the better off we'll be from a political rights standpoint as well.
And you're traveling around the state. Have people been, have they been great to greet you into their community?
And we had
that's great.
I guess the last week of February we did a kind of a house party in Missoula and raised some money there and had about 60 or 70 people. And then went to Butte, and it was 21 below, and we had like 15 people because it was very cold at Julian's Piano Bar, which was very sweet.
That's a great place. That's a great place. Love it.
And we actually raised like $500, and it was great, for
great.
Butte, for sure. And then we went to Billings, and this guy hosted a house party, and you know, there were probably 40 people at that, and raised a couple $1,000s there. So it's been great, you know.
So if anyone that wants to host a house party for you, how do they do that?
Well, they can just call me 546-7017, or they can find us on Facebook, or if they go to the Pride Foundation website, which is just pridefoundation.org, they can email me. But we're always looking for hosts to do that. This is what's happening actually later tonight in Polson. Some folks are hosting a reception for us.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing you there.
I know.
Definitely. So. Well, we are going to take a short break.
Okay.
And we'll be right back.
Great.
And thank you once again. This is Rosalinda with Viewpoint.
Throughout my share of struggle and pain, your love was there and will forever remain.
Embedded in my heart, etched like a stone, which is in part from you alone.
Eternal support and unconditional love, the grace of you only comes from above.
The grace of you only comes from above.
Eternal support.
I love you so much that no words can say.
I love you so much that no words can say how happy I am that you made me this way.
Only my heart can express how I feel inside, for that's where my love will forever reside.
The greatest person that will ever live.
The wisdom you share and the love that you give made me the greatest person that will ever live.
Greatest person that will ever live.
Through a veil of grateful tears, I will carry your message throughout the years. I know that you love me from the start, and to you I return that love with all of my heart.
Welcome once again to Viewpoint, and today our guest is Caitlin Copple. She is the Pride Foundation Regional Development Organizer from Montana, and we've just been recapping a little bit of your great work in Montana and also your organizing across the state. And hats off to you, girl.
Oh,
I think you're doing a great job. Yeah, you're out there in the forefront, and you're doing a great job. Can you tell us what are some upcoming events that the Pride Foundation is doing in Montana?
Absolutely. So as I mentioned, our grant cycle is beginning June 15th, and we need volunteers to help us review the grants. The grant deadline is not until mid-August, so it would be a volunteer opportunity that would be in the early fall, but if folks are interested in that, they can certainly contact me. We have a couple of events in Missoula in July, and the dates aren't really finalized yet, but folks can watch our Facebook page, or if you go to the website, sign up for the e-newsletter, and we'll keep you up to date on that. And then in the end of July, we'll be in Billings again, and then Billings again in August 20th, there's a group called the Total Awareness Project there.
Oh, really?
It just works to raise the visibility of the community, and so we'll be there for their annual picnic, which should be fun.
Nice, definitely.
Yeah, and then we're hoping to do some work around safe schools and just bringing together the great groups that are doing work on keeping schools safe and ending homophobia, and that will probably be in late September, early October.
That's wonderful, and I know this because I've done a little bit of homework on you. You're also on the board of NCBI, National Coalition for Building Institute.
NCBI Missoula.
And they do a great job too. They do such a great work in doing education, homophobia in schools and stuff like that. Good for you. Where can people learn more about you? How can they connect to Pride Foundation?
Yeah, well, my email address is caitlin@pridefoundation.org, and you can find that just by going to the website and clicking on Montana also. So if you just go to pridefoundation.org, and then we're also on Facebook and Twitter, so facebook.com/Pride Foundation, all spelled out, and then on Twitter, it's Twitter/Pride FDN. So it's a little bit of abbreviation on that one.
That's great. Yeah, FDN. I know that one. In your outreach efforts across Montana, what has been the biggest success story for you?
Oh my goodness, that's a good one. Well, this is kind of a sweet story. I don't know if it's the biggest success, but it just sort of made my day.
Love to hear it.
So I have an acquaintance who lives in Missoula, and he called me recently. And he was actually involved with NCBI to some extent, a straight guy, and he wanted to tell me that he was getting married. And it was something that he and his partner, who's female, had kind of struggled with because so many of their friends are queer, and marriage equality is not a reality in Montana yet. And so they, had a hard time with it. But then they realized, well, it's not going to help anyone if we don't get married because we love each other and we should just get married. But they decided they wanted, instead of getting gifts, to have their guests donate to a charity of their choice. And he's like, I don't really know anything about Pride Foundation, but I know you're there, and I know you're doing good work, and we have some guests that are coming from Oregon and Washington, and since Pride Foundation's active there as well, it seemed like maybe a good fit. So I just thought it was really sweet, this call out of the blue, and it just shows how, when you're reaching out to people, even though you might not see an immediate payoff, that those dots are being connected, and you're on people's minds, and equality is on people's minds, and I think that that's just a small way.
That is a great success story.
That the world changes.
Definitely. Changing one heart at a time is how I say it, most definitely. What has been your biggest obstacle?
I think, well, it's very expensive to travel around the state. And I think there's only one of me, but now I have this. There's only one. We have now a statewide kind of a board. It's called the Leadership Action Team. So now we have 14 people across the state who, once they get more comfortable and more well versed in the work that we're doing, in theory, can show up at events, table at things, have their own events in their community, and really get the word out about the work that we're doing and the work that our grantees are doing. So I think once that piece falls into place, that it'll be unstoppable.
That's wonderful. That's great. So then the biggest obstacle has to do with the traveling part of it.
And
not
just like
having
wanting
enough.
to be everywhere at once.
Yeah.
And I really want to show it for people because I know
Sure.
it means a lot, especially in rural communities
Most
when
definitely.
somebody comes to see you.
And we're
listen
so
to
happy you
So
came to see us. Thank
I
you
love
so
coming to
much.
see you. Thank
Yeah.
you.
What is your personal goal or hope in working as a community organizer?
Well, I guess it's somewhat selfish because, you know,
It's okay.
I have a job that
you
I
can be
love. I feel like
selfish.
it's the best job in the world. It's so much fun. And I feel so connected, you know, to the people that I work with, both in Seattle and the volunteers and people like you. And, you know, I just love this community. And I feel very thankful that I can, you know, make a living supporting it, which is what I do in my spare time as well as a volunteer. So it's great to be able to do that.
That's great. And so as we find out that Pride Foundation is a very diverse organization, how would you define diversity?
Ooh, that's a good one. Well, I think that, you know, diversity can be very broad, which is certainly the take that NCBI, for example, you know, has, which is that it's everything from religion and ability and race and class and, you know, the birth order, whether you're the middle child or the youngest child, whether you wear glasses or a nose ring. I mean, we all have little things that make us different. And I think that all of those should be celebrated. I think that it's also good that once you recognize that, folks can start to see how, oh, well, there are certain classes of people in our society who are systematically kept down because of their differences. And I think that once everybody sees that diversity is everywhere, that they can maybe start to see the larger patterns and work to correct those, whether it's ending racism or, you know, ending whatever form of oppression, including homophobia and transphobia.
Absolutely. I think that the word diversity is actually also a way to say that acceptance, period, of whoever you are, of what you are, and welcoming them, or anyone into a certain organization, like what you do, a certain kind of work. And that, I think that's what's wonderful about the Pride Foundation, because it's such a, it has had such a great impact, not just here in Montana, but in the other states that you mentioned, which are
Oregon, Washington, Alaska, Idaho, and Montana.
Idaho, Montana. And would you say that you're the first field organizer for this area?
That's based in Montana.
That's based in Montana.
Yeah, we've had a couple people in Spokane off and on.
In the Spokane, okay.
And Farin Gunnels, who's actually from Montana, is our guy in Spokane.
Okay.
He's Crow. He's awesome.
Oh, is he really? Oh, that's great. That's great. So you're not only reaching out across Montana, but in tribal communities and in different native cultures as well.
Yeah. The Montana Two-Spirit Society is actually one of our preeminent grantees in Montana because they've been funded not only through the community granting process, but also through our racial equity initiative.
That's wonderful.
So groups of color can often find other sort of pools of money to apply for in addition to the community ones.
That's great. So what's next in your chapter? In your life chapter, tell me.
Well, I want to have a baby at some point.
Oh, you do?
Yeah,
That's
maybe
great.
there'll be a little Pride Foundation baby someday.
That'd be
Not for
great.
like 3 years, but yeah.
Yeah, well, that's good. And you know, I just want to say thank you again for coming on Viewpoint. I think that the work that you do is absolutely awesome.
Thanks.
And keep doing what you're doing. You know, I feel that you definitely have the pulse of the community.
Thanks.
And most definitely. And if there's anything we can do to help you, please do let us know.
All right, I'll be asking.
Definitely. And again, if you can let our viewers know how they can reach you, if they want to donate, if they want to do house parties.
So we can take donations through our website, which again is pridefoundation.org. And if you click on Montana, all my contact information is there. My phone number is 406-546-7017. And my email is CAITLIN@pridefoundation.org. And then we're also on Facebook, just facebook.com/pridefoundation. So come find us and we'll get you involved.
That's great. Any closing remarks? Any?
No, I really appreciate the opportunity, and SKC is such a great tribal college and college in general, and it's just a great community of people, and I'm glad Glad to know you and Dr. Ross as well.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Well, it's great to have you here in Viewpoint. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Caitlin Copple again with Pride Foundation, Regional Development Organizer from Montana. And thank you again for being on the show. Viewers, please stay tuned for future episodes of Viewpoint. Thank you so much for being with me today, and have a good day.
Level to consider success in your Newton. To put us a yard to school to put us collection new Wewitston. To talk us and September to new Wewitston. To make or us Cockham and Tottenhamston. To hold emotion was the out contest. The air to catch your noon. Tamaka old skylick. Takakas hoistum, tapis takakas tutik ekpot to the noon. So could say, we at wow, to go etchness quite me. Yes, me may he was to casting quite then. We at wow. Lamb took us to lost dam. Took us goldstum took and gold must look as skyly. Lamb, share hoy.